last week, and we are looking at 33rd word from the words by Bediüz Zaman Said Nursi. And as usual, Dr. Yamina is leading us in the study. And what is new is that we will hopefully have presenters as well. So inshallah, we have this week a presenter too. Last time we started with the Quranic passage about signs of God in the furthest horizons and in human soul. And this 33rd word is an unpacking or a reflection on these signs. How do we see the signs around us and within us? It's one verse, but as Imam Nursi puts here, it's an ocean, and we would like to get a taste of this ocean, inshallah. So I will turn the microphone to Dr. Yamina to, if she would like to offer any introduction. And before we turn to Sister Tesnia, who is going to present the first window for today, inshallah. So Bismillah, Jazakumullah khair.
Thank you, Isra. Assalamu alaikum. أعوذ بالله السميع العليم من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. والصلاة والسلام على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. Maybe last week we didn't have the opportunity to go through the verse, the ayah, the passage that these 33 windows are windows onto the wisdom, some of the wisdom in this ayah. So this ayah is ayah 53 of Surah Fussilat, which is Surah 41. This surah has 54 ayat. And when in the ayah we are told, in time we shall make them fully understand our ayat in the horizons, meaning in the universe, in the world, and within themselves, so that it will become clear unto them that this is indeed the truth. Still, is it not enough that your Rabb, your sustainer, is witness unto everything? So who are they that we are making, Allah is saying, we are making the ayat clear to them in the universe and within themselves, so that it becomes clear to them that this is the truth, that this message, this revelation is the truth. And if we look at at Surah Fussilat, just to give a context, it starts with Hamim, the disconnected letters. In Ayah 2, we are told the bestower, or the Tanzil, the sending. Usually Tanzil refers to revelation, to the Quran. It is being sent down from God, by God to us. So the sending down issues from the most merciful, the most compassionate, a scripture or a book, kitabun, fussilat. That's where fussilat comes. Fussilat appears twice in this surah. A scripture whose ayat have been clearly spelled out as a Quran, but Quran also means, in Arabic, it means discourse, as a discourse in Arabic for people who know, giving good news as well as a warning. Yet, most of them, people, most of them turn away, and so they do not hear. They say, our hearts are encased against what you call us to, our ears are heavy, and there is a barrier between us and you. So you do whatever you want, and we shall do whatever we want. Say, I'm only a mortal like you. It has been revealed unto me that your God is one. Take the straight path to him, unto him, and seek his forgiveness. and woe to those who al-mushrikeen, those who ascribe, those who commit shirk, who ascribe partners unto God. And again, in the Quran, the primary audience is not the denier of the existence of God, but more those could be like secondary audience. The primary audience are people who think they believe in God, yet they do not know him, and therefore they ascribe partners to him. They don't see him as the sole source of being and existence and all that is. They explain existence and being and the world and all what's happening to them through many, many other things, and God comes, is just one of those things. And then at the end, so these are these people. Oh, sorry. And then it says, those who do not pay the zakat, the prescribed alms, and deny the truth of the life to come, of akhirah. Whoever does good does it for his own soul, and whoever does evil does it against his own soul. And your sustainer never wrongs his creatures, his creation. Now, at the end, from ayah 47 to the end, we are told, knowledge of the hour belongs only to him, and no crop comes out of its sheath, nor does any female conceive or give birth without his knowledge. On the day he asks them, where are my partners? They will answer, we admit to you that none of us can see them. Means those partners, it's not because we saw them doing something, it's just because we didn't think about it. And then in 48, the gods they invoked before will have vanished away on the day of judgment. They will know that there is no escape. Man never tires of asking for good, but if evil touches him, he loses all hope and becomes despondent. Whenever we let him taste some of our mercy after he has been afflicted, he is sure to say, this is all my own doing. I do not think the hour will ever come. But even if I were to be taken back to my Lord, the best reward would await for me with him. This is an important point because we often have no yaqeen, no certainty of akhirah, but because we do not deny it, we just like we don't deny God, we think we believe in God, but we can't believe in God if we don't know him with his qualities, with his attributes, with his beautiful names. And the same applies to akhirah. Believing in akhirah means we are certain, we have no doubt, and therefore we live with that certainty here and now, and it changes all how we perceive the world, how we all our priorities and values will change according to that certainty of akhirah. But when we don't have that certainty because we did not perform the shahada, we don't know what the shahada is, we think it's just repeating words, then because we don't deny in akhirah, we use it as something that gives us hope. We are not we don't live in despair or in fear of the hereafter, of the future, of after death, because we think, there may be akhirah. So that is soothing because it is in alignment with the fitrah, and so it answers a very fundamental, very important need of human nature, a very strong longing that we have for eternity. But we are misusing that. We can misuse it. So here it says, okay, this is all my doing, and I don't think anything will come. Like I live as if there is no death. But even if it happens, okay, I think the best, my Lord will give me the best reward. we shall most certainly inform the disbelievers. These are the one who is saying, my Lord there be a reward for me with my Lord, is described as a disbeliever. Will inform the disbelievers of what they have done and give them a taste of severe torment. Whenever we are gracious to human being, he goes away haughtily, but as soon as evil touches him, he turns to prolonged prayer. Say, have you ever thought, what if this revelation really is from God and you still reject it? So we always talk about rejecting, maybe explicitly rejecting, or it may be implicitly. I believe in the Quran, but I never wonder about its message, and I don't know it, and I don't live according to it. It has nothing to do with my life. There is a total disconnect. It's just our sacred book. So that could be also, for most of us, it's going to be more like that than actually explicitly rejecting it. Who could be more astray than someone who cuts himself off so far? And in time, we shall make them fully understand our ayat, our signs in the universe, in the horizons, and within themselves, so that it will become clear unto them that this is indeed the truth. Is it not enough that your sustainer is a witness unto everything? And the last ayah is, truly they doubt that they will meet their Lord. Truly he encompasses every thing. So you see where the context is. And also, like some people say, like, let's talk about the important things, like that matters to us. And why should we look at the signs in the creation, in the heavens and on earth and this? But that's what the Quran is again and again telling us, inviting us, urging us to reflect about, because unless we have a correct perception of the world out there, we cannot have a correct perception of the ayat within us. We cannot have a correct self-image, self-perception. And so we cannot follow a shortcut. And in that shortcut, that attitude itself is coming from a self-absorbed a perception where the ego, the I, is at the center, as if I know what I need. But just a second, maybe we think this is what I need. But let's listen to who created us. And it doesn't mean that in the beginning we know for sure that this is God speaking to us, God, our creator, our sustainer here and now. Yeah, but give it some space where we suspend our belief and disbelief and listen to it. If it makes sense, if it brings something new, if we can truly confirm the truth of this message, then isn't it worth it? Because if it is the truth and I am ignoring it or I'm not taking it seriously, then I'm missing something very crucial very vital to my existence, to my life, to the purpose of my life, the meaning of my life, not only my life in this world, but my eternal life as well. So this is very important. And think about the message of the Quran like a map to a treasure. If the map really leads me to a treasure, then there is no, then I can confirm it. Yes, this is the treasure map. And it does tell me that look at the creation first. So, for instance, because here it's talking about the heavens and the earth, this is a specific, in the Quran, we are told specifically, look, for instance, in Surah Yunus, Surah 10, Ayah 101, we are told, look, say, look at what is in the heavens and the earth. But what use are signs, are ayat, signposts, and warnings to people who will not believe. قُلْ انظُرُوا ماذا في السماوات والأرض. So this is a command. It's not like, well, even when it says, don't you look or something, it means look. But here it's directly amr, like look. In Surah Qaf, which is Surah 50, you can look from the beginning, but from Surah 6, Ayah 6 to 11, we are told, do they not look? أَفَلَمْ يَنْظُرُوا. Do they not look at the sky above them, how we have built it and made it beautiful and free of all faults, and how we spread out the earth and set upon it mountains firm and caused it to bring forth plants of all beauteous kinds, thus offering an insight and a reminder unto every human being who willingly turns unto God. And how we sent down from the sky water rich in blessings and caused thereby gardens to grow and fields of grain and tall palm trees with thickly clustered dates as a provision for everyone. And how by all this we bring dead land into life. This is how the dead will emerge. It means in resurrection from their graves. And of course, the passages where we are told, behold, in the creation and of the heavens and the earth and the succession or the alternation of night and day, there are indeed signs, ayat, for people of understanding, for people of reason, for people who reflect. This is repeated so many times in abundance in the Quran. There we are told, behold, these are signs, but there are other passages where we are told, look, or don't you look, why don't you look? And it's only when we look at the creation of the world out there, because it's easier. In the beginning, there is no way we can look inside us and find God there. It's not easy because it's not easy to surrender, because the I has those claims of self independence, of creating, doing, knowing everything. And so in the beginning, we are invited to look at the world out there for two reasons. First, we get to know God with his attributes through that. And also we will start seeing the world in a new way. And when our perception of the world transforms, then we will interact with them in a new way. And as we interact with them in a new way, we will start perceiving ourselves in a new way and seeing ourselves in their mirror and vice versa. And then we can reflect on the signs within us as well. And that's why in the ayah it says first in the horizon and then within themselves. But this is very, very crucial. And I know lots of people say, okay, let's just, can we get to the real point? I have a problem. You cannot solve a problem with the mind that created the problem. You have to first change your paradigms, change your perception. And often you are going to see that probably there was no problem. The problem was in the misunderstanding, in the misperceiving. And so that transformation, that change of shifting of paradigm has to start from how we perceive the world out there. It's like we need to first learn the ABC, the alphabet, and learn to read and write before we can we can read complicated texts. So I just felt the need to emphasize this because that's what, if there is something emphasized in the Quran, it's not just haphazardly happened. There is a wisdom in it. The more something is repeated, the more it means we need it more. The more something is, we are told to reflect on the world, and specifically the heavens, the earth, what is in the heavens and the earth, the cycle of night and day, because cycle of night and day means time, means transience, means everything is right now is in motion. Not only the earth is in motion around itself, but also around the sun, and the whole galaxy is moving, and we don't know where and what is this space that we're floating or traveling in. We are travelers. The whole galaxy is traveling, and we're very seldom aware of that because we're so self-absorbed in a little tiny world. It also, so the second thing, well, the first thing was to know God with his beautiful names, and to start seeing the world in a new way as ayat, as messengers speaking to us about God, bringing messages from beyond about the meaning of life, and showing us the way. And I'm not talking about special events. I'm talking about everything that is created. Waking up in the morning, day and night. So let's say maybe instead of saying sign, let's say signpost, because sign usually people think only a special miracle-like thing. No, everything is a miracle when we start seeing things as they truly are. And the second thing is, this will give us a new perspective. And the perspective is, it's like it gives us, we start seeing things in perspective. It means we are not confined and limited into our little tiny world and making a huge mess out of it, and a huge, like a spoiled child, and throwing tantrums, and why is this not happening the way I want? There is a huge world with huge purposes that go well beyond all those little things that I'm stuck in. And when I start seeing things, then my focus, my attention is not on only those little things that's happening in my life and that I feel are so huge. Even if they are still there, now I don't see them as huge, I see them as what they are. They are tiny little happenings in this huge world. And this huge world is not only in space, but also this huge world in terms of purposes, and the purposes that look to Akhirah, that look to God, that look to the beautiful names. And so when internally that perception, we get that perspective changes, then our perception of those, what we see as huge problems, or will start also changing. First, it changes in scope and in size, and then even in nature. Often it's going to be just, we were not looking at it in the right way. So inshallah, we'll start with Surah, the first window, and whoever, maybe whoever is presenting can read as well, inshallah. Bismillah.
Dr. Yamina, I have reason to think that maybe Tesnia couldn't log back in. I saw her in the very beginning, but maybe she is having some challenges. So I don't see her here in the room. She was going to present the first window.
Okay, so we can have someone who can volunteer to read, and let's see, inshallah.
New voices are welcome.
You're just going to read, inshallah.
I can volunteer, Yamina. It's Hanan.
Go ahead, please. Thank you.
Is it what it says here on my window, first window?
Yes.
Okay. Forgive my multilingual. I have 3 other languages on me, so there will be an accent in the English. If we look, we see that all things, and especially living creatures, have numerous different needs and numerous different wants. And those wants and needs are provided for them at the appropriate time in unexpected ways from places they don't know and their hands cannot reach. Succor comes to them, but the power of these needs, of these needy beings, is insufficient for even the smallest of those endless things they wish for. They cannot meet their needs. Consider yourself. Of how many things are you in need that your hands cannot reach? Like your external and inner senses and their needs. Compare all over living creatures with yourself. See, just as singly they testify to the necessary existence and point to his unity, so in their totality they show to the re. Sun, and necessarily existent, one behind the veil of the unseen, a single one of unity, among titles of most generous, all-compassionate nurturer and disposer. O ignorant unbeliever and dissolute, heedless one, with what can you explain this wise? Percipient, compassionate activity, deaf nature, blind force, senseless chance. Can you explain it through impotent, lifeless causes? Is that it, Yamina? Or second window?
Yes, yes, thank you. Thank you.
All right. You're welcome.
At the end, so when he says, so in their totality they show to the reason, to the reason, aql. At the end, O ignorant unbeliever, it's munkir, denier in the original, and dissolute is fasiq, and heedless is ghafil. And senseless chance is actually a more mindless chance. Can you explain it through powerless, ajiz, and lifeless is more like inanimate, jamid, inanimate causes. So I'm guessing that Tesnia is not back yet. So if we look at the beginning, there is the reasoning is actually straightforward, but it's very powerful. And it's a reasoning that we find that is expounded in various passages in the Quran. So in the beginning, he says, if we look, we see. It means, because usually we see things, but we are not looking. And in the Quran, we are told to look, unzur. So here he says, if we look, then we see that all things, and especially living creatures, because when they're alive, the more something is alive, the higher the level of life, which is like human being, the more needs, the less, like a rock doesn't have life, less than a plant, for instance, and therefore it seems like it has less needs and therefore less interactions with the surrounding environment. It does have, but it's not so obvious to the naked eye, at least. So here, that's why he's saying especially living creatures, because it's easier to see that they have numerous different needs and numerous different wants. And those wants and those needs, they are provided for them. At the appropriate time, something like, for instance, at birth, the child is provided with milk, or we provided with eyes at the appropriate place. It's like the wisest place to carry on our life. And there is light as well, because if we have eyes, the eyes needs to see, and there is light, and we need to make sense of what we see. So there are lots of things that are going on that we take for granted. In unexpected ways, these are all expressions from the Quran, like we are told in the Quran, وَيَرْزُقُهُ مِنْ حَيْثُ لَا يَحْتَسِبُ, and God, He provides for people in a way beyond their expectation. From places where they don't know. I mean, like the food that we eat, for instance, comes from not only, even if it comes from your garden, the minerals and all the nutrients that are going into the food is coming from places where we have no idea where they're coming from. And especially like the water, for instance, it rains, and that water in the clouds, we don't know where it's coming from. Is it coming from the ocean, from another lake somewhere? It's done in ways beyond our knowledge, beyond our power, beyond our, what does it say here? From places they do not know, and their hands cannot reach. It means beyond our control and our power. And help, succor, comes to them. Aid, help comes to them. But the power of these needy here is, we talked about it last time, these people who have needs, because needy may be understood in a particular way, because, okay, so people who have needs, or these beings that have needs, living beings, is insufficient for ever the smallest of those endless things they wish for. They cannot meet their needs. And in order to understand this, he says, consider yourself. Again, this reasoning is from the Quran. What comes to my mind is in Surah Al-A'raf, Surah 7, It's a very rich, very powerful surah with I read from 191 to 995, and you will understand the reasoning. We are told, do they ascribe to God partners, things as partners, things that cannot create anything since they are themselves created? No help, no aid can they give them. Those things that they ascribe as partners to God cannot create anything because they are themselves being created. And those things cannot give them any help, nor can they help themselves. If they call such people to guidance, if the believers call these people, the mushrikun, those who ascribe partners to God, to guidance, they do not follow you. It makes no difference whether you call them or remain silent. Truly, all those whom you invoke beside God are but created beings. Again, repeated. This is in 94. It was in 91 and 94. Like yourselves. So this like yourselves is also given in the Quran. Like, you don't understand what it means that they are created. It means they cannot do anything. They have needs, but they cannot fulfill those needs. Like yourself. Look at yourself. Invoke them then and let them answer your prayer if what you claim is true. Have they perchance feet on which they could walk? Or have they hands with which they could grasp? Or have they eyes with which they could see? Or have they ears with which they could hear? What are these things that you think can do anything? They can't, and they are just like yourself. So here it says, they cannot meet their needs. And how do I know? Maybe they can. So consider yourself. Of how many things are you in need that your hands cannot reach, like your external and inner senses and their needs? For instance, I need to breathe, and I need air to breathe, and I need clean air to breathe. So I need everything to be alive. I need to be alive and everything to work properly. And I need the air. And I have no saying over my breathing or over the air. I need to see, and I have no saying over the sunlight or any light. Or my eye to see, or if it stops to see, I cannot do anything about it. Or if it sees, but I cannot make sense of what I see, I cannot do anything about it. So we have needs, and we don't even have to go there, but these are the easiest to see directly. But even like food, I think that I eat, actually what I don't know how my hands works. If it stops working, I cannot do anything about it. So I take it for granted. I think I want to take the food from in front of me and put it in my mouth. But actually that taking the food, that my hand is working, all that is taken for granted. It's not under my control.
And Dr. Yamina,
Yes.
there is a TED Talk, some of you may have seen it. It's the title is A Stroke of Insight. And the speaker is a professor of neuroscience, I believe. And she wakes up one morning with a stroke that a part of her brain diminishes in functioning radically. So she tells her story, and then she has her own take on it. But from this lens, it will be very fruitful maybe to reflect on, because she's still alive and aware of herself, but she can't make certain connections. So then when she, for instance, gives the example of how she tried to call work to get help from the colleague, she looks at the numbers. She said, I see the shapes, but I can't read the numbers. Like I couldn't. And at that moment, she realized, oh, wow, I can't read anymore. She remember, she has memory, she can see, but she can't look at her business card and then it's a dial phone, and from there dial the numbers, because she actually doesn't understand numbers anymore. And the pixels get into, with pixels, she has no problem seeing, but she can't process it. So she actually still had some I guess guidance, so she was able to dial the number, but only by matching the numbers by shape. And it took her like half hour to dial one number, because her and then when she spoke, she was making sounds, but she realized that she thinks she's saying I need help, but what comes out of her mouth is some garbled language. She's like, I'm speaking like a dog, like what is this? And the person is speaking, she only hears woo 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 sounds. So at that point she realized, oh, well, I can't even understand speech. And it takes her 9 years to get well and healed, alhamdulillah. But the thing is, until she spoke, I never thought that you could make sounds and that wouldn't be like speech. I mean, maybe the other person may have difficulty understanding you, but how could you not understand even yourself? Like you're clearly saying it, but it's not coming out of your mouth, and your vocal cords are fine. There's air to take the voice over to the other side. Like everything else is fine. It's just this one part that seems little to us is at that point is not at your service. It's not functioning. So how many millions of things that happen instantly for us that we don't recognize until it hits us, or it hits somebody else, and we get to witness through somebody else's experience as well,
or sometimes through ourselves.
Yeah, sometimes through ourselves. And how about
I was talking also about like the food. What we do is just I put it in my mouth, and then I don't do anything knowingly. Like I don't use my will. I'm not choosing anything. The body is. We say the body is like chewing, doing, but actually, the body doesn't know it is being done. And if anything in that system, in that stops working, that's it. We can't do it. So we just take things for granted. But actually, we have so many needs, and we have needs and we have wants, desires, longing. So our needs are actually tied to the whole universe, to the whole creation, to the whole cosmos. Because again, something that Imam Nursi repeats, and it's also a reasoning that you can find in the Quran. In order to have one single thing, you need to have the whole universe, because even a single atom, a single cell, a single tiny object, a single tree, a single molecule of air or water, a single living being, exist in interconnection with everything else. And therefore, the maker of one can only be the maker of all. This is very important. Therefore, we cannot reduce, things to themselves or their immediate environment only. No, that immediate environment is also connected to the rest of the environment. So usually, like the eye, we have a project with Isra, and I was writing something about the eye. And when you learn at school about the eye, you have a little diagram of the eye alone, and then there is a little opening there that tell you it's the optic nerve that connects to the brain. But that's not the eye, because the eye is only an I in a living being. If the person or the being is not living, that's not an I anymore. There is no seeing happening anymore, no sight. And so, but in order for that being to be living, it has to be in connection with the rest of its environment, and everything is interconnected. So our needs are well beyond not only our power, the power of anything that is created. Only the one who can control the whole universe can be taking care of those needs. And the second one is that our wants and desires, we have wants and desires that are maybe related to our needs, but we also have longings and desires that are beyond and transcend this world, transcend transience and this limited world. They look to eternity. And that's also well beyond anything that we can find in this world. Yes, Isra, you were going to say something.
Yeah, it's almost 7, but I thought if we could maybe take like 5 minutes or so for people to reflect when it says consider yourself.
Here, consider yourself, and and then it says compare other living creatures, beings to yourself, and then it says you have needs. You all have needs, not only human beings. You have needs, you have wants and desires. They are well beyond what you can do. You have no power, no control, no knowledge, none of the qualities needed to take care of these needs. Yet, lo and behold, they are all being taken care of in wise ways. Even when we don't see the wisdom, there is wisdom. But the most important thing is they are being taken care of. Therefore, someone who has control over everything, whose power, whose knowledge, whose wisdom encompasses everything, only can be the responsible for all this. So they testify to the necessary existence and points to his unity. There must be only one center, because only one source, and they show a necessary existent one behind the veil of the unseen, because he can't be in this world, otherwise he would be limited himself. A single one of unity among titles of most generous, all compassionate, nurturer, disposer, and you carry on. And then he says, so how can anyone deny this, be heedless, mindless of this, after it has been shown to us, of course? And how can we
say, like, it doesn't have to be 5 minutes, it can be 3 minutes, but I was going to say maybe we can have like smaller groups. We have a breakout feature. So
it is late, so just finish the reasoning and then let people share, inshallah.
I thought if they spoke in small groups, then they would be able to more.
Okay, then 3 minutes, inshallah.
Okay. So then, shall we go ahead? Then breakout rooms. This is the first time we're trying this.
Sure.
You don't need to turn on your camera. You just need to talk about this. Just what do you think when you kind of have a moment to reflect on your needs and the way in which they are met? Okay. So we're gonna do like maybe.
Isra, can you clarify the question?
This to consider our needs. There's a question here highlighted. Consider yourself. How many things are you in need that your hands do not reach, like your external and inner senses and their needs?
It's not a question, really. More than a question, it's just
reflection. Right? I was a good example. What else? When you just take a moment, what else comes to you in terms of your needs, inner and outer needs? So we will divide into a couple groups, and then you share with your neighbor, and then hopefully that will encourage people to share in the larger circle when we come back.
So can you divide people into groups? Can you divide it groups of 3 or groups of 4? Like,
yes, it's done. So you will get, you will be able to see in your skin.
yeah, it says there's not room.
So Okay, welcome back, everyone. That was 5 minutes. Would anyone like to share?
I think dividing us made it very easy for people to talk. That was a brilliant idea. Jazakallah khair.
Can I share, Yamina?
Sure, please.
So I was explaining to the nice lady that we got very few minutes. So the Yemeni nice lady who's attending this meeting, but we didn't get to exchange names. Yeah, I have examples. For example, I'm paralyzed, so my hand reach physically is very limited. But there is worse. When I was first flown to the paralysis hospital when my accident happened, and then I started looking around me, in the gym where they are having exercises on us and whatever rehabilitation, so they can get us to our new life from a wheelchair. I looked around me and I saw people who are neck paralysis, and that's really a challenge because their hand cannot even reach their nose when it's itching. So I decided I'm fine with my feet. I mean, isn't that the context, physically reaching with hands? Or did I go beyond the context?
No, it's within. It's one example of a living example of something that we take for granted, but it is beyond our reach. And maybe we can take also this as an opportunity to see how when we become more and more focused on the fact that this world is transient, then however big our problem is, first it becomes smaller in the sense that this life is passing. And more importantly, it becomes an opportunity to connect to God and to connect to his beautiful names. So we have, everything has to be an opportunity to connect to God and his beautiful names. Health and a lack of health, abundance and a lack of abundance. All of them are here to remind us that this world is transient and that we are here on a journey and we are not here to stay forever. However, when we are in abundance, usually for most people, it's more likely to forget. It's when things are taken away from us that we are more likely to be in a state of being aware and being present to our powerlessness, to our wants, to our needs, and therefore more likely to connect to God and to feel how much actually what we need truly is his beautiful names. We need his compassion, his mercy, his healing, but not only in this world, more importantly, in the life to come, because that's what's eternal, that's what counts, inshallah.
Inshallah.
Yes? Anyone else wants to share, inshallah?
What came to me is if we sit back and really stay with whatever it is that comes to mind throughout our day, like whatever it is you think about or worry about, or really like with the meditations, I think that the clarity that comes to me is exactly what occupies my mind. It's just becoming more and more clear to me that it's all we are in our existence, all that we are is just needs, whether it's in the time of abundance or the time of less or lack or need. I just feel like all we are is needs.
True.
And what's so relieving about that is that, like, the analogy that came to me today was like almost like a battery that's plugged into a power source. It's like everything that exists in us is a need, and every need is directly given and sustained. I like the word that they used here today was most generous, all compassionate nurturer and disposer. So like that's the one that is the source. Like for us, this concept of source is, you know, sort of, I guess, less tangible. But for me, when the analogy came of like charging, like you would your cell phone with a charger, it's as though we are in constant need for the, even for the need to exist, it has to be given by a source, and for it to be sustained or nurtured is a source. So we're always plugged into the source. And anyway, so I feel like this first window really just shines light on our truest reality, is that everything that we want or need or have or don't have is given and is being taken care of at the same time. So there's really no need for worry. And I like the word disposer that it ends with, because I'm not sure if it goes, Dr. Yamina, with wakil, but it's like the one that you trust, entrust everything, because he's the one doing everything, your needs, and nurturing them at the same time anyway.
Yeah, true. I mean, when we are in ghafla, when we are mindless and heedless, it doesn't feel very good to be reminded of how powerless we are, and that we basically have only needs. Whether we are healthy or not, whether we are wealthy or not, we living in abundance or not, all we have is needs. But when we are in ghafla, because we are already struggling to be in control, actually we are struggling to be in control because deep down we know that we have needs, and we don't have the power and the knowledge and all the qualities to take care of them. And so we want to forget about that reality, and we ignore that reality, that we are totally powerless and we have only needs. But when we accept this reality, and we notice that although we have no power, we have no knowledge, nothing to sustain our life, something amazing, when we accept that reality, then we start realizing that, but just hold on a second. Our needs, my needs, are being taken care of. Whatever, even if it's not the way I want it, even that want is given to me. How do I know I want to be healthier or wealthier or more or wiser or something? That's also given to me. And so then we start feeling the greatness of Rububiyyah, the greatness of our sustainer, the disposer, we start feeling the greatness of all his qualities, his beautiful names that are at work in the world out there and within ourselves. And then if we choose to acknowledge this reality, then definitely we feel relieved, because otherwise we'd feel like orphans. When we are unaware of this, it feels like we are orphans and we have to fend for ourselves, and it's a huge burden, given that we are intrinsically powerless, and that our needs are beyond our power and our wants as well. And so we're not orphans thrown into the world or thrown into life anymore. Now we have a sustainer, we can rely on him, and we can unload that burden. Yes.
Yeah, thank you. One thing that is very helpful for me personally, thinking about needs, is that they are provided for. Of course, not all of the needs, for so on and so forth. But if I could only recognize so many needs are being taken care of without me even knowing it, and uh, you know, the fact that I have skin, the fact that my blood runs through my veins and there's 60,000 miles of them inside me, or the fact that somehow the air, despite the pollution and everything, is still being cleared and cleansed so that it has enough oxygen. The fact that I need gravity to be able to move, and it's provided for, as long as I'm here, not in the moon. Moon is a different story. But so the fact, I think, our illusion that I am going to take care of my needs starts when we don't notice that there's so many needs that nobody pays for. Nobody is, most of us, not even aware of it either. uh, from inside our body, outside of body, physically it's easier to see if we stop to see. uh, I mean, we don't have to study medicine to know it, but the bits and pieces we hear even is helpful. I mean, the fact that our skeleton is in this way, and all these bits and pieces inside our ear. Somebody had shared recently, there are these little bones in the ear, so delicate that they are there touching the eardrum, and that's perfect for our. Or there's a liquid in our ears that enables us to walk balanced, or stay balanced, or not have um, spinning feeling all the time. Even the fact that we have a shirt on ourselves and we don't feel the shirt sensation after a while. We don't feel that there's something on us. When it's taken out, you feel it. You don't constantly get a message saying that you have something on your skin. Like all of these little things, and there's so many that we don't even know that they're there as a need, let alone that you know that they are being taken care of. So when we start seeing these needs, whatever way we can, again, it doesn't have to be like medical information, but when we start with those needs, then we can also appreciate the fact that sometimes we have these needs not being provided for. So sometimes I can't walk. Sometimes everybody has their own thing. These days I can't recall short term. So like I take something from the fridge and then I forget I took it. Like, and I'm amazed of years and years of being able to recall short term stuff. Uh, and all these kind of things that we hear from each other about certain needs being not met, but they are couple out of thousands and thousands that are being taken care of. And that's meaningful too. The lack is meaningful too, because then we get to notice how we're taken care of, and we become mirror to each other. So just as worshiping have its blessings, somebody living through a challenge that I get to witness and remember God through, and I go through something. It's not bad luck, or I just happen to be the unlucky person who has this particular condition. No, I am also becoming a mirror to God through that, and you get a blessing for it as well. So
actually, Nursi says you may have gotten the expressway. Because if you use that situation to get closer to God and feel very intensely your need when you are not feeling it, when you are in abundance, in health and thing, then that will be your shortcut to knowing God in a very intimate way, very easily. So it depends how we use it.
mm-hmm.
The biggest challenge could be the best thing happening to a person. And in Akhirah, we say, oh, I wish, like, wasn't that like the easiest way to go? Of course, it can be the easiest or the toughest depending on how we receive it and take it.
Yes. And because in this temporary world, you said it's temporary, we need the contrast. So we have these contrasts of need and lack and need and lack. But but in addition, I just wanted to highlight that there's so much. I found Sister Hanan's sharing very touching. Like she looked around, she said, okay, fine, I can move my neck. Like that was very touching to me. Like how could, if I were in that situation, how would I feel? Like, you know, like I have something that I'm not able to do anymore. But it is for all of us like that, because we all in some ways experience a lot that somebody else is not experiencing. I'm not saying everybody has the same challenges, but I'm saying, and that's part of this temporary world, that we need these contrasts. But the overall picture is being taken care of in so many ways, and so many ways that we don't even realize. You know, there are creatures in the bottom of the ocean that are helping the oxygen levels stay normal in the atmosphere, and then we can breathe through that, other living beings there. Like, how would I even know I need that bacteria down in the ocean, let alone convince that bacteria to work and to do that oxygen thing? So we have so many needs that are being taken care of that it can't be random. That's the kind of finishing line here. It can't be just
and disposer, and I would even just add like educator, like something about this whole learning journey that the universe gives us through our needs. So even in, let's say, like the hardest things we'll experience, like illnesses and death, even in those, it's like, do we see Rab in that? Or do we see like, oh, the need is not actually being taken care of? Because for me, I mean, everyone that knows, I always share about my brother's passing, Allah yarhamu, like even with that, which has been such a challenge, like now I can see how it was only compassion, protection, love, and all the things that I would have wished for him alive that happened at the time of his passing. So even in disease and illness, like it's not lack. We say lack as though, I say lack as though Rabb is not really taking care of these needs for me, but alhamdulillah, he's taking care of my breathing and he's taking care of everything else. It's just a few things, you know, he's not doing right now, but hopefully, inshallah, he'll do them one day. But actually, within that is a nurture and compassion so beyond our understanding, that has protection and care and education and love for me, that I, you know, is really pertains to like the purpose of my existence, to teach me.
Yes.
So even like, for example, we were having like a nervous thing about my father potentially not being well and going to the doctor and finding this and this, and it was a moment of panic for everyone. And subhanallah, only in meditation, when I got to look at those needs and see like what the panic was happening inside, I said, wow, like I you're not the one panicking anyway. You are a one that's crying out for needs. And whoever put those needs is the one nurturing everything and taking care of everything through sickness, through health. Who cares? Like, that's not the point. He's the one doing everything, and in his hands is everything. Like his Rabb-ship is doing everything.
That's the second stage, when we start becoming clearer about the purpose of life, which looks to lastingness, which looks to akhirah, because there cannot be a meaningful purpose that looks to this transient life. Once we are clear about that, then there is no lack. Everything has wisdom, has meaning. Then health is beautiful and illness is beautiful. Because and sometimes illness can be more beautiful if it leads us to fulfill the purpose of our life in an easier way, when we become aware of this and when we surrender. And when we surrender, then we are eased onto the path of easiness. Yeah, thank you for sharing. Anyone else, inshallah? before we we end, is there anyone who wants to share? What came to my mind, if we are ending, is Surah Al-Inshirah, where we are told, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, Alam nashrah laka sadrak, which is, did we not relieve your heart for you? وَوَضَعْنَا عَنْكَ وِزْرَكَ, and remove the burden, الَّذِي أَنْقَضَ ظَهْرَكَ, the burden that weighed so heavily on your back, وَرَفَعْنَا لَكَ ذِكْرَكَ, and raised your maqam, your, I don't know, dhikrak, your stand, your position very high. فَإِنَّ مَعَ الْعُسْرِ يُسْرًا, so truly there is hardship. Where there is hardship, there is also ease within it. إِنَّ مَعَ الْعُسْرِ يُسْرًا. Indeed, truly, there is ease within hardship, let's say. فَإِذَا فَرَغْتَ فَانْصَبْ. So the moment, as soon as you are freed, starts a new task, take on a new task, وَإِلَى رَبِّكَ فَارْغَب, and فَارْغَب, and desire your Lord in everything, like look for Him in everything.
Sorry, Dr. Yamina, one thing that came to my mind that I wanted to mention before, that it's funny that Rabb is mentioned in this surah, and also in Fussilat, the last ayah that you mentioned, it says that beware, they are in doubt about meeting their Rabb.
Yes.
And then it says, indeed, he is the one who encompasses everything. And when you said bikulli shay, with every single thing, what occurred to me is in the need, in the provision, in everything. And it's only when we're in doubt of that meeting with Rabb, that union with Rabb in the here and now, seeing the Rabb in the need, in the lack, in the giving, in the taking. And I love the word Rabb because it points to all those names that are here in this first window. And it's just a way to really calm, really not even calm the human being, but like almost like guide the human being to a state of surrender by using this name. It's like lying the person down and saying, look, everything, your desire for it and whether it's given or not is all me doing everything for you. So
the burden of anxieties, of fear, everything, you can take it off now. It's taken off us, and we are anchored into that security, that peace, that connectedness with the source of everything. That's just beautiful. Alhamdulillah.
So one of the things that we were discussing earlier was the concept of, with Ziba and Mariam, was the concept of there's two concepts, contrast. One concept is when you are like the Secret Santa concept, where people get presents from each other, or Secret Valentine. So they trying to figure out who is the giver. That's, so they're, so it's like, is this, which one gave me this gift that I have? And then there's the other concept, kids games, which is like the egg hunt, so in the egg hunt, whoever puts the eggs out, they know that the mother put the eggs out, and everyone is looking very carefully. They know who's the source, and they're looking very carefully to find those like chocolate eggs or whatever, gifts in the eggs around the place. So like the more you look, the more you find. Like the more you're looking for gifts, the more you find them. Like if you start the whole thing by knowing this is the gifter, the gifter, and the gifter has gifts for me everywhere. Even when they're like the ones that are more difficult to find are the ones, that had more money in them, or had more chocolate in them. So the more the difficult it is to find those, those gifts, that there is more in them. Only few can get there, but there's the easy to get gifts. So I guess as you're speaking about when it's not easy to find, when it looks like it's taken away from you, it is there because you need to to look further. It's still there. There are 1,000 chocolate eggs out there for everyone, like, you know, for 5 kids to find. But
إن مع العسر يسرا
Yeah,
فإن مع العسر يسرا.
I love that we broke out today. Jazakallah khair, Yamina and Isra, for that. It made space for, you know, smaller conversation, which was very fruitful.
The ayah that Sarah referred to was the last ayah, 54, after the one that is mentioned here, 53, in Surah Fussilat, which is ألا إنهم في مرية من لقاء ربهم ألا إنه بكل شيء محيط. Truly, they doubt that they will meet their Rabb, and truly He encompasses everything. This is the last ayah of Surah Fussilat, just after the ayah that we are considering. Inshallah. So, inshallah, if we're stopping here, سبحانك لا علم لنا إلا ما علمتنا إنك أنت العليم الحكيم وآخر دعواهم أن الحمد لله رب العالمين اللهم أرنا الحق حقا وارزقنا اتباعه وارنا الباطل باطلا وارزقنا اجتنابه آمين والحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على سيد المرسلين وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. Thank you, and inshallah we'll meet next week بإذن if we're still here, and start the second window, and inshallah whoever is sharing and presenting the second window will be able inshallah to share with us.
Inshallah. And then another announcement that we will have a sisters only gathering this Sunday, inshallah, for prayers. We
Prayer, dua, meaning dua, like
we read from prophetic prayers, and we also recite Surah Al-Fath together. If you have joined it before, it's the same link, and it will be sent in the WhatsApp group as well. If you like to just send an email to Receiving Noor, we'll share the link with you. It's not this link, it's a separate link. If you're a brother, we'll pray for you too. And if you want to connect with another brother, let us know and we'll try to connect you with.
And it will be at, inshallah, time 8 p.m.
Yes, 8 p.m. Eastern time on Sunday, inshallah, this Sunday.